one North Green Mountain range from Medicine City with their feat strength. They arrived at the foot of the mountain in a short period of time. At this moment, there were many people lingering around the perimeter of the northern Kang Mountains. When they saw Xiao Yan and his group, some of the people they knew came forward to greet Liu Shuishi. Liu Yan was even greeted by many people, causing her to be extremely annoyed. The man surnamed Lu was called Lu Xing, and his fame was no less than Liu Shuishi's. Many people also went up to greet him. Although Lu Xing was polite, they could tell that he enjoyed the greetings of these people. Xiao Yan quietly stood behind these people and looked at the huge vein that was just inches away from them. From afar, he didn't feel anything, but when he got closer, he could feel a strange feeling. The mountain seemed to contain a huge amount of fire energy, causing the origin qi in the air to become extremely hot. This kind of heat caused the Xiao Yans in Xiao Yan's body to become restless. Although the ferocious beast in the northern Kang Mountains had a violent personality, it hadn't taken the initiative to take a step out of the mountain for tens of thousands of years. This had surprised everyone. Although they wanted to investigate, they gave up because of the countless ferocious beasts within. Brother Lu, you guys really came at the right time. The magma in the mountain erupted a few days ago, and it has just subsided. It should be safe for a period of time. Everyone is waiting to go up the mountain. A skinny middle-aged man wiped the wound on his face and laughed heartily. His eyes were filled with joy as he looked at the northern Kang Mountains. During these few days when the magma had subsided, the ferocious beast in the mountain rarely moved. He might be able to pick some rare herbs during this period of time. Haha, as expected, it's better to come earlier than later. Congratulations Brother Ma for obtaining such a great harvest. A trace of a smile flashed across Liu Shuishi's eyes. The bearded man shook his hand and cupped his hands towards the middle-aged man. His footsteps were stealthy as he blocked Liu Yan behind him, blocking the gazes of many who were secretly peeking in front of him. The ferocious beast will rarely appear in the northern Kang Mountains these few days. Let's make the best use of our time and try to pick more rare medicinal ingredients. Once we return to the Medicine City, I will definitely treat all of you well. Liu Shuishi turned around and bowed slightly to Lu Xing and the others. His eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking at Xiao Yan and the Xiao Ao. He had come into contact with the five of them before, and they had some kind of indifferent relationship with each other. However, these two people were extremely unfamiliar to him, so he had to be on guard against them. We will naturally do our best to be entrusted by someone else. Besides, I also want to experience the cave called Tuo Shi. Xiao Yan's eyes swept across the cave and naturally knew what Liu Shuishi was thinking. He slightly nodded his head and didn't say anything, but in his heart, he couldn't forget ancient monarch Tuo Shi's cave. Tuo Shi? So it's the cave of that mysterious expert. Rest assured, sir. If there is time, I will naturally bring everyone there. Liu Shuishi laughed, but his words were rather obscure. What a reckless kid. It's already good enough that he can come out of the northern Kang Mountains alive. He even wants to explore the cave of the ancient expert. He has a big mouth. Before Xiao Yan could say anything, the man surnamed Xia among the five spoke with a cold smile. His tone was full of sarcasm, causing people to hate him. You! The Xiao Ao instantly became angry. Killing intent fluctuated in its eyes. Just as it was about to step forward, it was stopped by Xiao Yan. Killing these people was only a matter of a finger, but for the sake of ancient monarch Tuo Shi's cave, there was nothing wrong with enduring such a small matter. Seeing the indignant Xiao Ao retreat, the man surnamed Xia let out a strange laugh. Just as he was about to continue speaking, Liu Yan's beautiful eyes swept across the former. Her cold voice slowly rang out, Lord Lu, it is hard to predict whether we will live or die in the northern Kang Mountains this time. We must unite together. This brother of yours is so mean. Does he want to create internal conflicts? As soon as the words left his mouth, the man surnamed Xia's face darkened. Lu Xing, however, laughed and nodded his head. Miss Lu, you have a point. Fourth brother, don't talk too much in the future. You have made our Yan unhappy. Liu Yan's brows wrinkled when she heard the thick undertone in Lu Xing's words. She snorted coldly and turned her head away without saying anything. Big guy, let's go into the mountain now. The earlier we go in, the better the herbs we will pick. We don't want to be picked up by others. Seeing that the atmosphere was in a stalemate, Liu Shuishi unhurriedly opened his mouth and broke the deadlock. He took the lead and walked into the mountain. There were already quite a number of teams entering the mountain from different directions. With Liu Shuishi leading the way, the few of them also moved one after another. They walked towards the mountain with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. Xiao Yan and Xiao Ao walked at the back. Liu Shuishi opened the way, and Liu Yan covered the rear. The division of labor was quite clear. Xiao Yan's eyes turned slightly, and then he withdrew his gaze. Liu Yan's strength was about the peak of Monarch King, and she seemed to be very agile. Clearly, she had quite a lot of actual combat experience. Liu Shuishi, on the other hand, was a genuine Monarch Emperor-level expert. His body was filled with qi and blood, and he walked with a vigorous aura. It was quite a pressure. As for the other 5 people, apart from Lu Xing, who had reached the Monarch Emperor, the other 4 were merely emperors. This kind of strength was not worth mentioning. Xiao Ao, protect me when we enter the mountain. I will use my soul energy to search for ancient Monarch Tuo Shi's cave. Hopefully, I can find it ahead of time. Xiao Yan secretly communicated with the Xiao Ao in his heart. He squinted his eyes and felt the movement of the wind and grass around him. No problem. If those 5 guys dare to cause trouble for you, I will make them regret being born. The Xiao Ao replied with an iron nail. The second half of his sentence was filled with anger. It was obvious that he was still brooding over what had happened earlier. Xiao Yan nodded his head in agreement. Although he didn't hate Lu Xing and the other 3, he couldn't avoid some of them. If they really didn't have eyes to attack him, he would just kill them all. There was no word on the way. Xiao Yan walked in the middle of the group and focused all his attention on searching for Lu Xing and his friends. Everything within a few hundred miles entered his ears. It seemed like there was a special confinement in the northern Kang Mountains. In the outside world, the souls of illusions that could cover a range of several thousand li could only cover a range of a few hundred li. The Xiao Ao followed closely behind Xiao Yan, and with its sharp senses, it could sense everything around it. The vigorous origin qi in its body was flowing, and it could launch a fatal attack at any time. Spirit Bone Flower, Tiger King Lingzi, Purple Jade Spirit Mushroom, Spirit Bone Flower, Tiger King Lingzi, Purple Jade Spirit Mushroom. My God, the herbs here are so plentiful. Numerous herbs that were hard to find in the outside world flashed in his mind. Xiao Yan could not help but exclaim in his heart. Although most of these herbs grew on the cliffs, it was his first time seeing so many of them. This place was indeed a blessed land for alchemists. However, there are too many spirit beasts here. Spiritual strength quietly surged over. When he saw the spirit beasts guarding the medicinal ingredients, Xiao Yan shook his head once again. Although many of these spirit beasts were hibernating, it was likely that a slight movement of the grass would awaken them. It was likely that it would not be so easy to secretly pick the medicinal ingredients. How miserable! Hundreds of miles away, a group of herb-picking teams accidentally woke up a heavenly beast. Under the furious retaliation of the latter, this group of 6 was completely wiped out. All of them had become food in the stomach of the heavenly beast. It was a miserable sight to behold. Xiao Yan withdrew his soul force. He could not bear to look at it again. However, there was not much fluctuation in his heart. Since he dared to come here, he was already prepared to face a sacrifice. No matter who died, it was not strange at all. This was the law of the northern Kang Mountains, the law of the great world. Those who couldn't adapt to it would have long been extinguished by the ashes. One after traveling for about an hour, under Liu Shuishi's lead. They stopped at a steep cliff. On one side of the cliff, there was a deep ravine that ran through the entire northern Kang Mountains. They didn't know where it went, but under the cliff. There were many rare herbs growing under the magma. The medicinal properties of the herbs were even more abundant, even though they were far away. Xiao Yan's sharp soul power could also detect the medicinal properties within. Brother Lu and I will go to the bottom of the cliff to pick herbs. Liu Shan, Liu Yan, the 2 of you will bring a few of your brothers nearby. When picking herbs, you must be very careful. Don't alert the sleeping spirit beast. Liu Shuishi's expression was extremely serious. He had once come to this place half a year ago, within a radius of several dozen miles. There should be a monarch emperor middle-rank heavenly beast that belonged to an ancient species, and it was extremely ferocious. If they were to wake it up, with their current strength, they would have no choice but to flee in a sorry state. Liu Shan and Liu Yan also nodded with solemn expressions. They no longer had the relaxed expression when they entered the mountain just now. If they stayed here for a short while, it was very likely that they would die in the beast's stomach. The ferocious beast that had just woken up from its slumber would do everything in its power to find food. Wah! A powerful yuan qi flowed behind Liu Shuixi's back. It transformed into a pair of light purple origin qi wings. After taking a deep breath, it flew towards the cliff not far away. The origin qi all over its body carefully flowed on the surface of its body. It was afraid that it would disturb some slumbering ferocious beast. Liu Yan's eyebrows relaxed when she saw Liu Shuixi and Lu Xing leave. She looked at everyone and softly scolded, "Big brother has now passed the authority to me. I hope that everyone will listen to my instructions in the future and unite together. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Her tone was fierce and had a bit of courage. Everyone knew the dangers of this place. Although they scoffed in their hearts at Liu Yan's tough words, they didn't show it on the surface. Very good. Everyone, gather the herbs nearby. Put all the herbs in here. When you go back, Big Brother will give you a satisfactory reward according to the value and quantity of the herbs. Liu Yan nodded gently. She waved her hand and a couple of ordinary colored storage rings flew towards the few of them. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over them. His finger gently moved and grabbed the storage rings in his hand. Liu Shuixi is really petty. He actually used this kind of trash to store medicinal ingredients. It is really hard on our little beauty. She still needs to put in a lot of effort to store the medicinal ingredients. Looking at the storage ring on the stall in his hand, the man surnamed Sha could not help but mock. His eyes swept across Liu Yan's pretty face and figure, and his eyes revealed a trace of lust. As soon as his voice fell, it immediately attracted the laughter of the others. There is no need for all of you to worry about this. I hope I can see a few more of you when I return to Medicine City. Liu Yan sneered and ignored their gazes. She then led Liu Shan and walked away. Her cold voice sounded again, "If you encounter any danger, release the origin qi immediately. We will come and rescue you immediately." Shameless boasting. If there really is a problem with your abilities, what qualifications do you have? Seeing Liu Yan leave, the man surnamed Sha coldly smiled. Then, he disdainfully looked at where Xiao Yan was. The latter had already disappeared. "Damn brat, you run pretty fast. Sooner or later, you will become the food in the ferocious beast's stomach." The man surnamed Sha cursed in his heart. He waved his hand and the few of them quickly moved. They carefully walked to another place. "The cave you are looking for, do you have any clues?" On a towering ancient tree a few miles away from the cliff, Xiao Yan was sitting cross-legged on a huge tree branch. When he heard the question from the Xiao Ao, he opened his eyes and shook his head helplessly. "This mountain is too big. If there is no clear location, I don't know how long it will take to find it." Xiao Yan knocked his head. His gaze was distant. After pondering for a moment, he said, "Wait for a few more days. If it really doesn't work, we can only let Liu Shan and the others bring us there." Hearing this, the Xiao Ao could not help baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. It said indignantly, "Didn't you see what these people are doing? Obviously, they won't specially bring you to that cave. They will only use you if they don't use strength that will make them fear you. There's no hurry. I can use this opportunity to familiarize myself with the mountain of Mingan Divine Domain in the next few days. The source of fire in this mountain is exceptionally rich, and it will be beneficial for my cultivation." Xiao Yan laughed. He rested his back on the thick tree trunk and said calmly, "Let's rest for a while. After that, we will go and find the herbs to refine the body." HMPH. Xiao Ao pouted and sat on the tree branch. His legs were swaying gently like a swing. Xiao Yan's overly calm character could sometimes drive him crazy. The northern Kang Mountains only had Yu Wei. Clouds and mist were lingering in the depths. No one knew what kind of danger was hidden there. In the quiet mountain forest, there were occasional furious roars that shook the sky. However, they dissipated in a moment. This was also true. This meant that a few more people had perished. Xiao Yan was sitting on a huge branch and was not in a hurry to move. Under the cover of his soul power, he had clearly grasped the traces of Liu Shuixi and the others. He also knew what kind of rare and precious medicinal ingredients there were. Compared to the other people who were bitterly searching for them, he was much more clear on what kind of rare and precious medicinal ingredients there were. He had an enormous advantage. Buzz. His body was surrounded by origin qis. Xiao Yan closed his eyes. The fire source energy in the North Kang Mountains was extremely dense. It was comparable to the underground space of the Yunluo Academy's Heaven Pillar Peak. In just a short period of time, a wisp of pure origin chi had been born in his body. It covered the origin chains, making it even more crystal clear. This place is really a good place for cultivation. Xiao Ao, do you want to try it? Xiao Yan smiled and opened his eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, his brows twitched and his face turned cold. These bastards. They are really tired of living. The Xiao Ao was startled, as if it had sensed something. Its purple eyes immediately looked towards the east. There was a dense forest there, and under the gaze of the purple eyes, it looked towards the east. It was as if there was a ferocious beast soaring into the sky from the forest. It was extremely terrifying. He actually has the intention of attacking a young beast. He doesn't know the difference between life and death. Xiao Yan's expression was indifferent as he stared coldly at the eastern dense forest. In the next moment, a huge golden-winged Peng bird spread its wings and flew out from the dense forest. The great Peng was about half the size of a mountain, and every single golden feather on its body was shining with a dazzling light. It seemed to be able to pierce through the void, containing immense might. Within its pair of millstone-sized golden eyes, it was incomparably cold. As the golden wings flapped, a long wind blew. It destroyed countless trees. Help! Help! A few human figures ran out from the dense forest in a sorry state. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. The golden-winged Peng swooped down, and its sharp claws easily tore apart the last man in black. In an instant, blood and flesh flew everywhere. It's a peak of Monarch Emperor Great Peng. It belongs to the ancient species, the descendant of the golden-winged Peng bird. It seems like it inherited the powerful bloodline of the old ancestor. It's actually so powerful that even an Emperor cultivation level heavenly beast wouldn't dare come out. Xiao Yan suddenly stood up and quickly recognized the source of the great Peng. Spiritual energy surged out from all over the place, and he also knew that there was another Emperor cultivation level heavenly beast within a 1,000-mile radius that had awoken from its deep slumber. However, he did not make a move. It's even better if it's dead. The Xiao Ao frowned. It glanced coldly at the great Peng before it immediately gave it a dismissive look. It's fine if they die, but we can't let anything happen to these few people. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. He turned around and saw Liu Shuishi and Lu Xing in the distance. They were looking at the mighty great rock in shock. 1-inch golden-winged Peng. It actually woke it up. In the distance, Liu Shuishi's facial expression changed drastically. A strong wind was blowing at his face, causing him to almost lose his balance. His tiger eyes were filled with blood as he stared at the golden-winged Peng in the distance, which looked like a demon god that was running amok. Surnamed Lu, my men accidentally woke you up just to pick the herbs for you. Don't run away just like that. Lu Xing's expression was gloomy. He suddenly pulled Liu Shuishi's sleeve and spoke in a cold tone. Do you think we have a chance of winning? You know how many Monarch Emperor were killed by it in the battle a few years ago. If we go up now, we are clearly seeking our own death. Liu Shuishi's expression was so gloomy that it seemed like water was about to drip down his face. He shook Lu Xing's hand away and spoke in a hoarse voice. Hearing this, a deep anger immediately erupted from Lu Xing's eyes. His eyes moved and saw Liu Yan and Liu Shan rushing over from afar. He immediately sneered. Before Liu Shuishi could react, he leapt up and grabbed Liu Yan and Liu Shan's arms. Lu, what are you doing? Liu Shuishi's eyes were about to split open. His beard trembled slightly due to his excitement. He ignored the golden-winged Peng that was rushing towards him and rushed towards Lu Xing. Liu Shuishi, if my brothers die, then these two brats won't be able to live anymore. Lu Xing's expression was savage as he lifted up one of his hands, preparing to throw Liu Shan down the mountain stream. Bastard! Liu Shuishi was so angry that his whole body was trembling. He looked at the three men who were being chased by the golden-winged Peng. His body was covered in blood. It was as if the rock was toying with them. No matter how they tried to escape, they would bend down at the last moment, leaving deep bloody marks on their bodies that could even see their bones, causing them to cry out in pain. Screech! The golden-winged Peng soared into the sky. Golden light emerged from the depths of the millstone-sized eyes. The first thing that appeared was Liu Shuishi and the others in the distance. Immediately, they let out a loud cry. The sound seemed to penetrate through the space, causing terrifying sonic booms. Big brother, help! The man surnamed Sha stumbled. When he saw Lu Xing in the distance, he immediately cried and howled. There were already several bloody scars on his body. Blood kept flowing out from his body, and his life force was slowly diminishing. The feeling of watching death come at him made him feel extremely terrified. Swoosh! Looking at the few people who were running away like ants, a human-like mocking look flashed across the golden-winged Peng's eyes. It swooped down once again, and with its huge claws, it was about to leave a deep wound on their bodies. Lu Xing, bring Liu Yan and Liu Shan away. Liu Shuixi's entire body trembled and he suddenly shouted angrily. His beard trembled as he crazily rushed towards the golden-winged Peng. The wings on his back flapped rapidly and he clenched his 5 fingers tightly. A golden metal rod that was as tall as a person appeared in his hand and smashed down towards the golden-winged Peng's sharp claws. Brother Lu, you are willing to sacrifice yourself for others. I admire you. Don't worry, even if you want to sacrifice my life, you must bring Liu Yan and Liu Shan out. Brother Lu, I hope my brothers are safe and sound. Seeing Liu Shuixi's action, the corner of Lu Xing's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. A force was emitted from his arm and instantly knocked out the 2 people who were struggling in his hands. After that, he turned around and was about to leave. Hong, the golden-winged Peng, also noticed Liu Shuixi, and it let out a disdainful cry. The huge golden wings suddenly flapped and created gusts of wild wind. In an instant, sand and stones were sent flying everywhere, and numerous huge trees were uprooted. When the attack was launched at Liu Shuixi, the fleeing Sha family's men were also affected. They were hit by the rocks, and they fell to the ground with miserable screams. Their chi was weak. Dong! A huge rock as tall as a man flew over. Liu Shuixi hurriedly raised his metal rod to meet it. In the next moment, the rock shattered into pieces and flew away. The huge impact caused Liu Shuixi to fly backwards and hit a huge tree. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned as pale as a sheet of paper. Bastard! Liu Shuixi fiercely wiped the blood from his mouth and cursed. He didn't know whether he was cursing Lu Xing or the golden-winged Peng, but he immediately held the metal rod and was about to get up. Go and chase after Lu Xing. I'll deal with the golden-winged Peng. Suddenly, a palm gently placed on Liu Shuixi's shoulder. His voice was calm. At the same time, a gentle origin chi flowed into his body. The restless origin chi in his body instantly calmed down. You! Liu Shuixi's body trembled. He looked at the man who suddenly appeared next to him in disbelief. Before he could say anything, Xiao Yan nodded at the Xiaoao with a serious expression. Then, he rose into the air and flew towards the golden-winged Peng with the Xiaoao. I'm sorry, brother, I have to save my family. I can't deal with this beast with you. If you can come back alive, Liu Shuixi will definitely repay your great kindness. Liu Shuixi's face struggled for a moment before he furiously shouted out in pain. In the next moment, he rushed towards the direction where Lu Xing had left without even looking back. Xiaoao, try your best not to attack. Otherwise, you will attract the other ferocious beasts out. Xiao Yan's expression was serious. He looked towards the depths of the northern Kang Mountains. There were overlapping mountains and ridges there, stretching for tens of thousands of miles, and he didn't know what kind of danger was hidden there. Don't worry, the bloodline of this type of desolate species ferocious beast is extremely thick. The bloodline suppression is the most suitable. Let's see how I deal with it. The Xiaoao confidently patted its chest and walked in front of the golden-winged Peng without any fear. It raised its head and looked at the latter with disdain. The golden-winged Peng's eyes were fierce and fierce. It stopped curiously when it saw the Xiaoao and Xiao Yan walking straight towards it. It bent its body and its millstone-sized fierce eyes were almost drawn to the Xiaoao. The Xiaoao's expression was ice-cold. Purple chi lingered in its eyes as it stared at the golden-winged Peng's eyes. A terrifying aura quietly moved, as if a dormant ancient ferocious beast had awoken. The barbaric aura rushed over and easily resisted the golden-winged Peng's aura. Hiss! The aura that the Xiaoao suddenly emitted caused the golden-winged Peng's huge body to tremble. Its golden wings moved suddenly, and its eyes were filled with a murderous aura. It subconsciously wanted to eliminate this young man in front of it. Get lost! The Xiaoao suddenly roared. The purple origin chi covered its entire body, and its chi shook the mountains and rivers. The golden-winged Peng was startled by the roar, and its arrogant aura immediately dissipated. This is really terrifying. Xiao Yan stood at the side and remained silent. A golden light surged in his eyes, and he muttered to himself in his heart. In that instant just now, it was as if a huge purple dragon had appeared behind the Xiao Ao. In front of the mountain-like purple dragon, the golden-winged Peng was like a withered bird. It had lost all its temper. "Get lost!" Seeing that the golden-winged Peng was still standing there blankly, the Xiao Ao roared once again. Its aura was even more wild than the last time, like the roar of a primeval ferocious beast. The golden-winged Peng seemed to have woken up from a dream, and immediately turned around and left in a panic. He, what do you think? We're both descendants of the four spirits, but this golden-winged Peng's bloodline is not as strong as mine. Seeing the golden-winged Peng escape, the Xiao Ao took a deep breath and looked at Xiao Yan with a smile. That's good. I managed to avoid a fierce battle. Xiao Yan rubbed his chin and smiled as he nodded. Then, as if he had sensed something, he looked deep into the mountain range and frowned. In that instant, he felt something deep in the mountain range, but it was just a fleeting feeling, like an illusion. Let's go. Let Liu Shuishi and the others take us to ancient Tonarch Tuoshi's cave immediately. Something seems to have woken up in this forest. Xiao Yan's sword-like eyebrows relaxed. He grabbed the Xiao Ao's hand and swiftly rushed in the direction where Liu Shuishi had left. The latter was slightly startled when he heard this. Is it because of me? The Xiao Ao muttered to himself. He looked at the surrounding mountain forest in a daze. However, he had been led away by Xiao Yan a long time ago. In the northern Kang Mountains, the eruption of the magma a few days ago had brought them peace and quiet for a few days. Countless herb gatherers had taken advantage of this period of time to search the mountains and plains for precious herbs. Occasionally, there would be a few ferocious beasts that would wake up, but they were unable to stop the frenzied crowd. Swoosh! Liu Shuishi was like a furious lion with blood-red eyes. The golden iron rod in his hand was swung horizontally, as if it had pierced through the space. The powerful and heavy strike caused Lu Xing to hurriedly dodge. When he saw the pale face of the former, he couldn't help but sneer. You can actually escape from the golden-winged Peng? Liu Shuishi, you are truly shocking. Lu Xing's smile was ferocious. But I have already said that if you want these two little bastards, you can exchange a few of my hands for them. Now, it seems like they are all dead. Put Liu Yan and Liu Shan down. Otherwise, I will make sure you have no place to live in Medicine City. Liu Shuishi clenched his teeth tightly. His beard trembled slightly, like a giant beast that was ready to devour someone. A cold light shot out from his eyes. Don't think that you don't know the difference between life and death just because you have Sung Yintong backing you. Who would know that I will kill you here? Lu Xing threw his head back and laughed, then he suddenly swung his arm. The unconscious Liu Shan was thrown horizontally toward a huge rock in front of him. Bastard! Liu Shuishi's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. At the same time, he shouted angrily and rushed towards Liu Shan, wanting to save him. Ha ha ha! Liu Shuishi, your biggest weakness is that you have too much affection for your daughter. Look at me. A few good brothers who have been following you for 7 or 8 years have abandoned you just like that. This is what you call free and easy. Don't worry, since you value family so much, next year I will bring Liu Yan along with me. I will throw them away as soon as I say so. You can rest assured that since you value family so much, I will bring Liu Yan along with me next year. I will come to see you. Who knows, you might even be able to become my uncle. Seeing Liu Shuishi's behavior, Lu Xing couldn't help but sneer. After that, he moved his body and rushed towards the outer perimeter of the northern Kang Mountains. His complacent voice resounded in Liu Shuishi's ears, causing the latter's face to turn red. He was about to spit out a mouthful of old blood. Bang! In the next moment, a figure that looked like a star arrived. With a sigh, he easily caught up to Lu Xing. While the latter was feeling surprised, the former gently struck out with his palm. The palm landed on Lu Xing's back. Immediately, a miserable cry rang out, and Lu Xing spurted out a mouthful of blood. He fell to the ground with a loud crash. Liu Yan, who was still unconscious, was firmly held in his hand by the figure that suddenly appeared. Xiao Yan glanced at the unconscious Liu Yan in his arms. The latter had clearly been frightened. There was a trace of fear between her brows. There was some crystal clear at the corner of her eyes. It was undoubtedly tears. It's you. Liu Shan, who was about to hit the rock, was suddenly caught by a young man. When Liu Shuishi saw the two of them, he was stunned once again, and his voice was hoarse. The golden-winged Peng has left. Those people should be dead. Xiao Yan landed from midair. Liu Shuishi hurriedly extended his hand to receive Liu Yan. He only felt slightly relieved when he saw that the latter had only fainted. The events that had happened during this half a day had really frightened him. Thank you, both of you. Thank you very much. I have no way to repay you. When I return to Medicine City, I will definitely ask City Lord Sung to repay you. Xiao Ao took Liu Shan from him, and Liu Shuishi thanked him profusely. Tears welled up in his eyes. Bring us to the cave you found. Xiao Yan shook his head and said with a serious expression. The cave? Tuoshi's cave? Hearing this, Liu Shuishi's eyelids twitched, then he smiled bitterly and said, To tell you the truth, a few days ago when the magma erupted in the northern Kang Mountains, we also happened to discover it while we were in a panic. As for the exact location. After saying that, Liu Shuishi shook his head apologetically. I'm really sorry. Tuoshi's cave has become a gimmick for us to recruit people. Sorry to disappoint you. Xiao Yan raised his brows and took a look at the Xiao Ao. Disappointment could be seen in both of their eyes. They were actually happy for nothing. Xiao Yan pursed his lips and looked at the overlapping mountains in the distance. His expression was solemn. Although he was a little disappointed, Tuoshi's cave was indeed in the northern Kang Mountains. If there was a chance in the future, he could come here and thoroughly search it. Big brother, I remember that place. When the atmosphere fell silent, Liu Yan, who had barely opened her eyes, suddenly spoke. Her voice was extremely weak. Can you take me there now? Xiao Yan's heart moved and he subconsciously asked. Although I was in a coma just now, I could still sense the situation in the outside world. Thank you for saving me and my little brother. The three of us are not strong enough. It would be a joke to say that we will repay you. Since you two want to go to Tuoshi's cave, I will naturally lead the way for you too. Liu Yan's face was pale, her voice was pleasant to hear, and her tone was sincere. Thank you for your trouble, Miss Liu. Xiao Yan was overjoyed, but his expression was still calm. Big brother, you should go with us. The northern Kang Mountains is full of danger. Your strength has been greatly reduced, so it's better for you to follow the two masters. Liu Yan smiled gently and looked at Liu Shuishi. Her voice was soft and gentle. I will have to trouble the two of you. Liu Shuishi didn't refuse. He cupped his fists at Xiao Yan and said. He had witnessed the strength of Xiao Yan and the Xiao Ao, so he naturally knew that following these two people was the safest. Between the two of them, it was obvious that the young man in front of them was the center. It was nothing. Let's go. Xiao Yan remained calm and nodded his head lightly. With his and the Xiao Ao's strength, as long as they didn't encounter too much trouble, they could still ensure their safety. Turning his head and looking into the distance, Liu Shuishi had a complicated expression on his face. Lu Xing was lying on the ground on the verge of death. Many of his bones had been broken. Being struck by Xiao Yan's palm on his back was enough to cause him fatal injuries. A golden-winged Peng can make you reveal your true colors. All these years of friendship is ridiculous. Clenching his teeth, Liu Shuishi let out an angry laugh. He supported Liu Shan, who had just woken up, and followed Xiao Yan and the others. There were many small spirit beasts that were looking for food in the northern Kang Mountains. With Lu Xing's severely injured body, he would sooner or later become the food of these small spirit beasts. In the south of the northern Kang Mountains, a group of nearly 20 people was standing. In the middle of the mountain range that was filled with wild trees, there was actually a green field. A young man was leisurely sitting in the middle of the green field. Beneath him was a gorgeous blanket, and it was extremely comfortable. Young master, if we continue walking forward, we'll be at the center of the northern Kang Mountains. With so many of us going in, we'll surely cause the ferocious beasts to surround and attack us. We can't bring any more guards along for the rest of the journey, so just let me accompany young master in. An old man in yellow walked out from the crowd and bowed slightly to the young man who was sitting cross-legged. I know, but you don't have to go, Elder Wu. It's just the North Kang Mountains, I'll go in alone. The young man wore an embroidered robe and had delicate features. His skin was as delicate as a woman's, and his shoulder-length black hair was mixed with a few eye-catching strands of white hair. After hearing the old man's words, he couldn't help but smile towards the sky. He leapt up from the carpet and looked at Btth Mountains with a fierce gaze. Before coming here, the patriarch said that the Btth is mysterious and unpredictable. No matter where you go, I will follow you. The old man's expression was stern as he shook his head and denied it. The patriarch also said that you can only give me suggestions. As for the decision, it's in my hands. The young man laughed as he held the gorgeous belt on his waist. His figure flashed as he flew towards the North Kang Mountains. In an instant, he was nowhere to be seen. Only a long and loud roar could be heard in everyone's ears. Elder Wu, I'm warning you, don't follow me. A mere Btth could handle it. I, Su Qiuye, am nothing. Quote. One under Liu Yan's lead, Xiao Yan and the others headed towards the south of the northern Kang Mountains. The dense forest, weeds, and ravines were everywhere. Without Liu Yan's lead, no matter how much time they spent, it would be useless. With the Xiao by his side, Xiao Yan also focused all of his attention on the surrounding environment. Soul energy surged out from between his eyebrows and rushed out like a tide. Scenes of the surrounding dozens of miles flashed in his mind, and it could avoid any danger as much as possible. That time, the magma erupted first from the mountain range in the north. At that time, everyone was running towards the south. In our panic, we chose this path. As we were fleeing, we caught a glimpse of Tuoshi's cave, which was hidden in the mountain stream. As for what was inside, we really don't know. Liu Yan's face regained some color. She walked next to Xiao Yan and spoke in a soft voice. Xiao Yan nodded slightly and didn't say anything. Regarding this cave that they were about to see. Although he was full of anticipation, there was also a trace of fear. If it was really ancient monarch Tuoshi's tomb. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan's heart was filled with mixed feelings. He really did not wish to meet this legend of fighting Qi continent in such a manner. Why is it so hot here? Liu Shuishi and Liu Shan walked behind. The latter wiped the sweat on his forehead and could not help but mutter. The magma is surging under the northern Kang Mountains. If we go deeper, the temperature will naturally be higher. However, the herbs that can grow here are also much better than the ones outside. Liu Shuishi laughed. Unknowingly, the few of them had already started venturing deeper into the heart of the northern heavens mountain. If it was in the past, they would definitely not dare to come here. But this time, with Xiao Yan and Liu Shuishi by his side, they swaggered into the mountain once. Su! Before Liu Shuishi could recover his senses, Xiao Yan's figure suddenly moved and flew towards the left. In an instant, he returned with a fiery red three-leaf lotus in his hand. It was emitting a very pure qi. This is a good item. If this is sold, it will be worth at least 1,000,000 monarch crystals. Seeing Xiao Yan carefully putting the three-leaf lotus into his storage ring, Liu Shuishi could only secretly admire him. He did not dare to ask for it. The few of them weren't the same group as before. He had no reason to let Xiao Yan take it out. My luck is not bad. I got another one of the main herbs. Xiao Yan was quite happy in his heart. The northern Kang Mountains was indeed a holy land of herbs. This kind of rare three-leaf lotus treasure was also growing here. With his speed and strength, he naturally wouldn't wake up the ferocious beast that was guarding at the side. We're almost there. It's in the forest ahead. After a moment, Liu Yan suddenly stopped in her tracks. She pointed her slender fingers at the dense forest in front of her. The ancient trees that covered the sky were lush and lush. They covered everything within it, making it impossible to tell what was inside. However, from where Liu Yan was standing, she could vaguely see a cave in the depths of the forest. On the giant monolith outside the cave, 2 blurry words were carved. Obviously, it was the word Tuoshi. All of you, be careful. I'll go in and take a look. Seeing Liu Yan not moving forward, she hesitated and was embarrassed to speak. Xiao Yan understood tacitly. Nodding his head, he instructed the few of them before rushing towards the depths of the forest. The Xiaoao naturally followed closely behind. He also wanted to see just who this Tuoshi that Xiao Yan kept muttering about was. Liu Yan and the other 2 looked at Xiao Yan's back as he swiftly left. They looked at each other and involuntarily sighed in relief in their hearts. They did not know what kind of danger was hidden in this forest. With their strength, it was indeed very difficult to enter. Fortunately, Xiao Yan sensed it and did not let them continue forward. Let's hide and wait for them to come out. Liu Shuishi's tone was solemn and he lightly sighed. Luckily, Xiao Yan saved them this time. Although the task of picking herbs had to be put aside, being alive was the greatest blessing. Liu Yan and Liu Shan nodded their heads. Although they were young, they had passed through the northern Kang Mountains many times and were prepared for this sudden event. Xiao Yan, did you notice that the fire source here is more than 10 times denser than outside? As they moved forward quickly in the forest, the Xiaoao reached out its hand and grabbed the air as if it was deep in thought. It's not only the fire source qi here, some of the ferocious beasts here are also much stronger than the ones outside. Xiao Yan's expression was grave and stern. His spiritual strength enveloped his surroundings. Soon, he discovered a couple of ferocious beasts sleeping deep underground. Heavy breathing sounds were like thunder in Xiao Yan's ears. It contained a frightening aura. The moment the two of them stepped into the forest, some of the ferocious beasts seemed to have sensed something. Xiao Yan's entire body trembled. It was as if there were countless pairs of eyes staring at him from all directions. Xiao Yan's heart moved. The monarch flames wrapped around him and the Xiaoao, covering most of the qi. The moment the monarch flames appeared, some of the ferocious beasts that seemed to be waking up let out a low roar and fell into a deep slumber once again. Ancient monarch Tuo Shi really knows how to choose a place. This place is used to build a cave. Ordinary people won't be able to enter. Xiao Yan sighed in his heart. He and the Xiaoao once again quickened their pace. A moment later, a cave dwelling with its back against the mountain range appeared in front of the two of them. In front of the cave was a barren land, as if it had been burned by a raging fire. The surrounding areas were filled with weeds, but this place was clean. Not a single blade of grass grew here. In the center of the cave was a huge green rock with 2 blurry words carved on it, Tuo Shi. Judging from the words, it should have been at least 10,000 years. Xiao Ao squatted on the huge rock and looked at it carefully for a while. He had lived for a very long time in his previous life, so he could roughly tell how long 10,000 years was. 10,000 years. Xiao Yan's heart shook. This number was somewhat vague. How long was 10,000 years? To him, it was only a number. He had never experienced such a long time, but he could feel that it was quite far away. 10,000 years ago, he became a sovereign and fighting Qi continent, and 10,000 years ago, he gained the strength to open up a cave in the northern Kang Mountains. He truly deserves to be called Tuo Shi. Xiao Yan murmured to himself. He raised his head and looked at this simple and crude cave. He didn't try to decorate it too much. He only opened a cave under the cliff. Now, it seemed like he had done it casually. The interior of the cave was dark, and no one knew where the heaven and earth was. Why did you come here 10,000 years ago? Why did you come here 10,000 years ago? Countless doubts lingered in his mind. Xiao Yan inhaled a deep breath of air. The golden origin qi around his body shook. The monarch flame lingered in his palm. He called out to the Xiaoao and strode into the cave. I can sense a familiar scent from your body. It has been a long time since we last met. The darkness in front of him had yet to disappear the moment he stepped into the cave. Xiao Yan's body trembled. An elderly voice suddenly appeared in his mind. The voice was calm, like an amiable old man asking with a smile. Xiao Yan was startled, and countless thoughts flashed across his mind. Could the owner of this voice be Tuo Shi? Just as he was about to answer, a domineering male voice came from another direction, as if it had the power to rule the world. A familiar scent? So that's how it is. Old man, I know who you are. This again. Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment, and then he suddenly realized something. His eyes sparkled with a golden light, and he clearly saw the situation inside the cave. In front of him, there was a flame that seemed like it would extinguish at any time for an unknown period of time. Above the flame, 2 silhouettes were sitting opposite each other, and the voice was coming from the mouth of the silhouette. The 2 silhouettes were only a rough outline of a human, and it was impossible to see their facial features clearly. He also didn't know which was the real Tuo Shi, which disappointed Xiao Yan. Old man, it has been so many years, but no one has ever dared to call me that. Young man, you are very brave. The aged voice sounded again, its tone still light and calm and collected. It's just because of strength. Your setup is only this world. My world will definitely surpass this place. The vigorous voice was like a monarch emperor that had been suppressed for tens of thousands of years, containing an unparalleled heroic spirit.